As many wise men have said in the past, don't believe the hype. But sometimes the hype is well and truly lived up to. And most recently it's been Olivia Rodrigo's time to shine and once again dominate the contemporary music scene with her new album Guts. Now we should start this video off with the fact that I'm clearly not the target demographic for Olivia's music as a guy in his 20s who likes indie rock. But there's a fair whack of music where I'm not the target audience either, and I do enjoy their tunes, such as Taylor Swift, and it's undeniable that the Backstreet Boys have some major bangers. And it should always be celebrated that music is for everyone and you should be ashamed of what music you enjoy regardless. Unless of course that album is humbug. But also her popularity is undeniable and I've heard most of her music mainly through the radio, so I'm a casual listener at best. However, I was pretty impressed by her Glastonbury set in 2022 and the clear connection she's building with her fan base, which can only be applauded. With songs from her first album such as Driver's License and Good For You being undeniably well written and produced and performed in terms of pop music. And it was clear Good For You had that connection to the mid-2000s pop punk scene, mainly Misery Business by Paramore. And it was nice to see inspiration being taken from that genre of music which I grew up loving and pumped into contemporary pop music, a take which some people I knew disliked. But I'm happy to celebrate the revival and celebration of past music for current day. So in all the build up for this new album and the clear solid basis Olivia had built herself, alongside with some of those throwback genres I liked in the 2000s, as well as having some songs which I thought were pretty decent and not a chore to listen to, I thought why not check out her long awaited follow-up record and see what Guts has to offer as an album as a whole, rather than just hearing it in drips and drabs through the radio, so I could make an impression of it for myself. And well, it's pretty safe to say I was pleasantly surprised and at a push I'd say impressed. Now, I thought before listening to the album and based off the singles I'd previously heard, I'd be going into a pop-punk 2000s teenage drama kicked into 2023, delving into teenage angst and young relationship drama. But what I actually found was a pretty well written and performed album with great depth and variety, albeit with a sprinkling of teenage drama here and there. But what I really couldn't get over is how much this record reminded me of other artists while still sounding like an original album. As mentioned, a lot of people took umbrage with Good For You sounding like Misery Business. And whilst you can clearly hear influences on Guts, it's not the same criticism people have previously had. And I think it should be seen as more of a praise this time round. This album sounds like other fantastic artists who towed the line between pop and rock, where more rock-based tracks like All American Bitch, Vampire, Bad Idea Right, and Getting Back reminded me of artists when I was growing up like Pink and Avril Lavigne, who were all the rage at the time, and even had to push some of the tones in terms of the rhythm of the vocal delivery. In lyrics, especially on Bad Idea Right, reminds me of hearing Cherry Bomb by the Runaways for the first time. And some of the longer angelic vocal notes held and intertwined with the pop-based instrumentals reminded me a lot of Blondie's tracks, such as Heart of Glass. And I think even as a recent example of an album which compares and sounds fairly similar to a lot of the stuff on Guts is The Record by Boy Genius, which was released earlier this year, with tracks such as Ballad of a Homeschool Girl, Making the Bed, Logical, Love is Embarrassing, The Grudge, and Pretty Isn't Pretty, all sounding fairly similar and like it could be up to the standard of the highly praised album released by Boy Genius. Now, the main reason why it's so great that this album sprung all these comparisons to my mind is mainly because of what I said earlier, that the album isn't really targeted to myself as a key demographic. But even despite this, I was able to connect with the album through its inspirations, or what it reminded me of, and bringing up those key and core memories of hearing fantastic female artists as I was growing up was really helpful in just enjoying this album, alongside seeing that Olivia has released an album that has similar tones and is comparatively of the same quality to an album that I am the key demographic for, that being The Record by Boy Genius, which overall means this album has to be deemed as at the least very, very good, as it's able to capture and pique my interest as someone who isn't even the target audience. And of course there's a few songs which float me by which are more angled on that teenage drama aspect of things, but it's not really prevalent enough on the record to the point where it breaks up my listening experience either, which appears to have been navigated pretty well. And Olivia's vocal delivery is pretty much fantastic throughout the whole thing and has worked well with instrumental production, so I can't really fault it there either. And if you've seen the channel before, you know I think there's a lot of emphasis should be put on the last track of the album to summarise the experience or journey which you've just been on, and the dramatic ending of Teenage Dream does this fairly well in an instrumental peak. Overall, I think it's important to have artists like Olivia Rodrigo still around, and to that almost completely new to the scene, which will toe that line between pop-punk music and draw in influences from past artists and genres of music which aren't in the public eye anymore, as it opens up people who listen to Olivia Rodrigo to other artists they might not have listened to or even found before. For example, I've been comparing Guts to The Record by Boy Genius, and I think anyone who enjoyed Guts would certainly like that record also, but because it's not particularly mainstream, you need someone like Olivia Rodrigo Rodrigo to open up these types of genres to her audience. And further to this, I love the fact we currently have pretty big artists producing fantastic pop music, such as Taylor Swift and Harry Styles, alongside Olivia Rodrigo. As a big criticism of mainstream pop music is that it's usually trash, to be consumed and then immediately forgotten about. However, artists like Olivia Rodrigo coming out and, well, impressing me, a grumpy indie fart who loves rock music and would likely be the type of person to say current pop music is trash, turn his opinion around and say, hey, these records are actually pretty good at the moment. And as a result, it's undeniable the mainstream scene has been producing some fantastic music recently. And I'd certainly be praising Guts by Olivia Rodrigo as one of these fantastic records. And to be honest, I look forward to hearing what she does next. So do let me know in the comments what you thought of this album, or if you're going to give it a listen next, or if you just think I'm wrong entirely. But overall, good for you, Olivia. Good for you. As always, feel free to like and subscribe if you're new here. And on that note, I think I'll say ta-ra for now, and I'll see you later.